Hey everybody, my name's Grant Key. I'm the lead protocol engineer for Telcoin Network. I'll show you our digital cash demo. We've deployed several digital cash options on testnet. This is a Diri testnet. We have selected our e-Mexican peso, and you can see from a list of options, we've got a wallet with several balances, but today we're going to swap for Canadian dollars. Set an amount, we'll do 2,000, and we can see the price impact. The minimum amount received. We set our parameters for the swap, and now we're ready to sign. For the demo on desktop, we're using MetaMask. It's an open source EVM wallet. Telcoin Network is fully compatible with all the EVM products on the market. And once we've signed our transaction, it's now with the network. The nodes are reaching consensus, they're validating it, they're exchanging that information to make sure it's a legitimate transaction. And once that's reached on testnet, about 5 seconds, we should be able to see the information in the block explorer. So here we can see our status was successful. The block that the transaction was included in, 100,593. And we signed our transaction just 22 seconds ago. The power of Telcoin Network with the instant finality, every time a block is produced, the settlement is cleared, that transaction is permanent. And for very low transaction fees and very fast block times. Here you can have a look at our block explorer where we see blocks being produced in real time. This has a lot of information for us, including the token price, the latest block number, and the most recent transactions on the network. And there you have it. It's as easy as that. Users can swap stable tokens now on our Telcoin wallet found on iOS and Android.
We look at ourselves as the bridge between the traditional financial and the crypto world. So that's why we want to be the bank and issue stablecoin bank accounts directly out of your stablecoin. We all know about the breadth and scale of NWC, 100,000 attendees globally with phenomenal success. But I think it's the content and the engagement, the energy, which is vibrant, rebellious. But I think it's a melting pot of corporates, telecom, startups, especially this 4 years from now, where you have investors, startups, corporate, cutting-edge technology providers all under the same roof. That's phenomenal. We love it here.
We're wrapping up shop here at MWC 2025. It's been a super productive conference. We networked with a ton of mobile network operators, and the booth generated a ton of interest. So that's it for now. We'll see you at the next conference.
Hey everybody, my name's Grant Key. I'm the lead protocol engineer for Telcoin Network. I'll show you our digital cash demo. We've deployed several digital cash options on testnet. This is a Diri testnet. We have selected our e-Mexican peso, and you can see from a list of options, we've got a wallet with several balances, but today we're going to swap for Canadian dollars. Set an amount, we'll do 2,000. For Canadian dollars. Set an amount.
How we doing, guys?
Hello. Good evening. Good. How is everyone?
Doing well?
Excellent. Stream is looking good. Do we need to pin people?
No, I have it set on highlight mode, so whoever's speaking will be highlighted, and we can always change it if needed. No problem.
Oh, that's exciting. Okay, sounds good. Are you happy to get started? We all here? Knoppers is at another concert this week, so he will not be joining us. But
Got it.
hopefully he's having a good time. Let's see. Okay. Nice. So, welcome everyone to our 16th Town Council recurring meeting. For today's meeting, we will focus on the TAN IP1 data, some TAN IP1 adjustment proposals, and round off with some open discussion / Q&A. Let me just pop the agenda there by popular demand. There you go. So let's do our usual overview of the TAN Council and the purpose of these recurring meetings. So these recurring meetings serve 5 critical functions. They provide transparency to our community. They create a structured forum for proposal discussions, enabling authors to present to the council and community, and to discuss, debate, and refine for formal proposal and voting with consensus. They enable regular platform updates. They ensure consistent communication amongst council members. And finally, they allow direct community engagement through question and answer sessions. The TAN Council is a local governance organisation within the Telcoin platform. Together, we serve as a provider and administrator of collective goods and services within the jurisdictional domain of the Telcoin Application Network, or TAN. The TAN Council, with our 6 members, makes decisions related to TAN improvements and policies through the TAN IP process. We need 5 out of 6 votes to approve proposals within a 120-hour voting period. Our primary duties are to allocate TEL issuance on TAN for stakers and developers to harvest, and plan and finance the development of the Telcoin application network. Our key responsibilities include reviewing and voting on snapshot proposals, attending these bi-weekly meetings, providing regular community updates, monitoring TAN systems, and enforcing operational rules. We use Discord for day-to-day communication, the forum for informal proposal discussions, these recurring council meetings for proposal discussion, deliberation and refinement, and snapshots for formal voting. Overall, the TAN Council has authority over miner harvesting and planning and financing TAN infrastructure. So, as has kind of been the theme lately, we've been talking a lot about TAN IP1 and diving into the data and discussing ways of potentially improving it and making some changes. So I'd kind of like to start by kicking things off with a bit of data. So Andrew Pinch of the Telex Council has again crunched the numbers for this week's issuance, and I believe he has a nice spreadsheet for us. Andrew, if you'd like to run us through it and share your screen, ideally, would be great.
Yeah, let me get going here.
Amazing.
Let me know if you guys can see.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys can still see okay?
Looks good.
Okay. Yes, I don't know what you guys really want to go through. I'm happy to answer any questions too, but this is like high level look kind of on a week-to-week basis. I know it's kind of tough to see with a lot of numbers and whatnot. We'll get into the visuals and whatnot, but I know you guys had some questions about kind of what was what. So maybe I'll just go through quickly and explain kind of what each column represents. Pretty straightforward, but obviously the period's the period, the starting week, the sum of all referral fees, which is obviously the ones that people get from their referees, the staker fees, which is the ones that they incur from swaps on their own. This is basically just the total between the two to calculate kind of where the fees are. So as you'll see, kind of we're starting to see a little bit of an increase outside of those two kind of legs over the last 2 weeks. And then what we wanted to do too is just get an understanding of kind of what those percentage breakdowns were in those kind of two categories here, which is obviously represented in this fee dominance here. So we're starting to see it obviously come a little bit closer in terms of like that 50-50, almost 55 kind of 45 split, which is good to see. And then we've got the sum of all of the TEL distributed throughout the period, the sum of all the rewards, which again is pretty straightforward, always 3.2. And then we've got the sum of the missed ones, which again we'll see kind of down here. We're starting to see that kind of level off in the lower levels, kind of, let's call it 30 to 50-ish, which is really good to see, which is a high percentage of reward distribution, which is, I think, what the goal of this is. Obviously, the more that is held back, it's not necessarily ideal, I think, for everybody, but you can see here on average, kind of the last couple weeks, we're sitting at about 1.5% that isn't distributed, so that's good. So this cumulative, obviously, this is just kind of whatever, the value is there, plus whatever was missed for the previous period, right? So weekly wallet count essentially is showcasing the active wallets within the period. Doesn't necessarily state anything that's new, different, or anything like that. It's just out of, this week, as an example, week 20, we've got 284 wallets that essentially participated in the program, okay? Unique wallets, so this is anybody that's new and different. So this is where we're going to see kind of those new period wallets where you're going to see obviously that difference from 1 week to the next. But so far, there's been 956 unique wallets that have participated in the program through period 20. Okay. And then I think another, thing that we want to focus on too, or at least you guys, as I'm not part of the TAN Council, but obviously, pretty stellar kind of start with, the first couple of weeks with everything kicking off. But we've kind of seen it tail downwards over the last little bit. So average, almost 17 new wallets per week. Obviously, this most recent period had a little bit of a higher one, which is good. But, those single digits in terms of new wallets, obviously, I think that's something we want to focus on. and then the average fees. So this is more just an understanding of kind of what the fees are divided by the amount of wallets that were kind of within the period. So it's more just a tracking just to see kind of on average, what those fees are. So again, tougher to look at from a table perspective, but me as a data guy, I love those tables, but obviously for everybody else, I think a visual representation is a little bit easier. So I think you guys are all pretty familiar with these ones, but this basically just shows the total fees broken down by referrals and stakers. Again, we've talked about the dominance there as well. So this is just the fees. Again, the orange line is just the cumulative, so that'll continue to increase over time. And then you've got the blue, which is the period that is missed. So again, we talked about kind of that drawing down over these last 5-6 periods, which is really good. In terms of Ari's implementation, I can't remember exactly when it was. I think you guys mentioned last time it was around 13, but I think it might have been a little bit earlier, kind of closer to 10, maybe 11. I'd have to verify that, but and then you've got kind of the weekly wallet count, which again is more the active users, and then the average of what they're kind of using and trading in terms of fees. And then down here, we have the weekly wallet count again, and then showing just the new period. So again, you kind of saw at the beginning, obviously a high level, new people kind of getting involved. But then we've seen a pretty drastic decline over the last little bit, and seeing kind of how that's kind of trended basically flat over the last, let's call it, almost 15 periods. So. And then lastly, there's just this one, which is just showing the total increase in unique wallet count. So the more people that are getting involved. Does anybody have any questions? I know I can ramble on, and I should save some of my voice for tonight. I feel like Steve and I are going to be going on for a while tonight. But does anybody have any questions about this before we kind of move on to the next kind of phase of the data?
I think all clear. Yeah, looking good. Maybe just the one actually. You mentioned that the dominance trending to 50-50 was kind of
Yep.
good. Can you run me through your rationale for that?
Well, for me, I think like if the more you have people kind of like actively participating and using referral links, I think you want every time someone to make a swap as a staker, like you want that growth marketing. So as long as you have somebody getting those fees on the referral side and on the staker side, it shows kind of the collaboration between everybody, in my opinion.
Okay, nice. Okay, I hadn't thought of it that way, but I guess that makes sense. I
Yeah,
always
like
saw the
I don't think
50-50 as a
you should
yeah.
always technically have a higher level, I think, of referrals because some people don't use it
Yeah,
as much, right? But I think I don't know. The closer the pair is, then the more that there is a referral attached to like that staker. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I guess that's definitely a good starting point, and it's much better than, yeah, as you say, if it were only stakers trading and there were no referrals, you'd end up with like 100 and 0.
Yeah, and I don't
So
think
100% stakers and 0% referees.
then the whole stake and refer program isn't really working at that
Yeah,
point either, right? So I think it
yeah,
just shows the collaboration. I would say between kind of
yeah.
the staker and the
I think
referral.
ideally, I was thinking that ideally you'd have a low percentage of staker fees and then a high percentage of referee fees, which would kind of imply a many-to-one relationship, i.e., each staker has many referees who are actively trading, would be the
Yeah, and
ideal scenario, which would
which
be
is
like
why
a
you'll see
divergence.
that the sum of the referrals is higher overall than the
Yeah,
sum of the stakers.
yeah. That's good. That's a good metric to follow, actually, I think.
Well, if you
Um,
guys want other things to follow, we can do that too. I can
I
create
think,
new
yeah,
new
I think
charts
maybe for
down here.
next
I'm
week
fine.
yeah, that would be a good one. That would be interesting to see.
Yeah, we could basically
Uh,
just kind of
yeah,
build a chart like essentially like this, but have them kind of
yeah,
side by side
yeah,
instead of stacked on
absolutely.
top of each other.
I think that would be cool. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can.
Nice.
I'll take
All
some notes
clear.
and add that in for that. No problem. Okay,
Thank you very much. Oh, awesome.
no problem. Did you guys want to look at these again?
Yeah, yeah, happy to. Let's keep going.
Okay. So yeah, we kind of tracked the top 10 wallets. Again, I'm working on a new kind of thing that I got to play around with, but essentially the goal is to have everything auto-populate based on, putting the wallet address in and then referencing the period, and then basically it would kind of auto-populate all of that. So I got to play around with my formulas in Excel to do that. And then hopefully the goal would be to have like the chart, the visual here, similar to what these look like, so that at the end of the day, we know that wallets in terms of like the top 10 are going to fluctuate, and from that perspective too, on the raw data side, like we can look at it kind of period by period and say, okay, in the last 5 periods, who's been tracking a little bit higher than some others, because I know there are some that over the last, I'd say, 5 periods have like increased their activity a little bit. And you can see like on some of them, like this one as an example, like hasn't traded or had any referrals essentially since, period 13, right? So I know we've kind of talked about it enough where, they were harvesting, let's call it, a little bit more of the fees. But obviously these two wallets have kind of dropped off compared to what they were doing.
Yeah.
Again, another tail off there as well. Maybe another metric to show you guys. And I know you guys have kind of looked at this as well a little bit too. But just in terms of whether or not it is profitable. So it's kind of these 3 columns that I added in. So what this does is it shows the percentage of fees of the staker fees. So what we're doing here is basically taking the sum of what those staker fees are and dividing it by the total fees, so that we can allocate and understand of those staker fees, essentially the fees that they had to pay for trading, what are they actually getting out of that, of those total rewards. Okay. So for these top 2 that have quote unquote been gaming the system, essentially they're at 48 and 50%, right? So they kind of do each other's. So they've essentially earned about 3.9 million out of that 8 and 7.8 just from their own trading. So what I tried to look at was what is that difference between what they've earned from trading versus what they've spent through trading. Everybody follow? So in terms of profitability, you can see like these top 2 have actually earned 421,000 tel and 400,000 tel from just their trading in the app. Obviously, they get their fees as well from the referrals, which has not necessarily anything to do with them and a cost to them. So that's why I wanted to break it down from that perspective. So you can see obviously anything in red, they're essentially losing, or it's not profitable for them to be trading. Like there's, I think, one that was only doing trading. I think it was down here.
Not profitable purely from a TEL perspective, just
Right.
to make sure that's clear as well. It's nothing to do with their actual trades. Yeah.
Right. This isn't factoring slippage either, right, Andrew? It's just purely the.
This is just the
fees.
data that we have. Like I can't look at the slippage rates.
Yeah.
Like everything is going to be a little bit different, right? There's no way for me to follow and track that. Like this is just looking at the data that we have from the TAN IP1 issuance rewards and taking it from there, right? So like if you look here, like this person's literally doesn't have any referrals. They're trading in the app. They've traded and incurred fees, upwards of 800,000 tel, and they've only earned 665. So net, they've lost about 130,000 tel outside of slippage and other factors as well.
Slippage should be very low because it's Polygon. There isn't much or any
It's
MEV, I think. Yeah.
marginal, right? But again, it just goes to show, what, some of them are profitable, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And again, this is just their fees. It doesn't factor in the referrals at all. It's just looking at their fees, their percentage of what that is, and what that equates to in terms of, what they're making. So if we do look at kind of like a higher level, you can see kind of the max, the min, and then the average. So on average, people are profiting from it. And then there's been about 126 so far out of the 956 that are essentially not profiting from it. So if we look at maybe even that as a percentage.
Andrew, by not profiting, is that wallets that are inactive and lost?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
No, like they could be actively trading. It's just that they're incurring more fees than they're gaining through TAN issuance.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
But keep in mind too, like these guys here too, like not only are they earning from the referrals, but they're also earning a certain percentage from the TAN, or sorry, the stake and refer, right? So they've already, earned 8 million. So we know that they have at least 8 million, right? So that puts them in the 5 to 25, which I think is 36%. So on top of that, they're also earning 36% of, this 3.7 or the 3.5. But just to look at it from like their own perspective of fees, like this is why I wanted to look at it, because I know you guys have been talking about it a lot in terms of, whether or not these wash trades are profitable. If we only look at it from their fees to the percentage of what they're getting overall, then this is kind of the column of whether or not it's profitable just from TAN IP1. That makes sense?
It does.
Yeah, all clear. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about the data or anything like that?
Just a comment. Can you go back to the new wallets again?
Up here?
Yeah, right. So if you look at this period, right, 24 new wallets, period wallets, that's the most we've had since like what, period 5. So that's just wanted to point that out. That's a good thing.
Back to period 5, yeah.
Yeah, that looks good. I mean, it could be probably due to the condition of the market now. Maybe more people are flowing in, but definitely a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we take out the first couple periods, because we know that's a little bit skewed to the high end, this is maybe a little bit better representation of what the last, 15 periods, 15 weeks looks like in terms of new wallets. So obviously a pretty good uptick over the last 2, specifically over the last 1, but
yeah,
whether or not there's
nice surprise.
Yeah, again, maybe marketing might help with that. Obviously, with Storm coming in, getting a little more, eyes on the wallet specifically into, different markets.
I really think so. Yeah, I think that could be a big factor that we can really use to our advantage.
Yeah, so this is something we can track for sure over the next, 8 to 12 weeks and kind of see how, because I know Storm said that they've got some KPIs through their RFQ submission. And, this was one of the KPIs that they wanted to hit on.
Yeah. Lovely. Looking good. Thank you very much, Andrew.
You're very welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah. Does anyone from the community or other council members have any other questions on that? Or Derek, any questions coming in via the other channels?
I don't see any right now, but anybody watching, if you've got a question about any of this information, please just type it right there in the chat box, and I'll be able to relay it.
Lovely, nice feature. Okay, well, we'll carry on for now then, and we can come back to anything later. So the next thing I want to touch on was the 2 new TAN proposals on the forum, which were both introduced by Blue Light. So Blue Light first had the idea of diverting TAN IP1 funds, which are currently being used to incentivize traders via this mechanism that we've been discussing. And he kind of wanted to explore diverting that towards exchange listings instead. And then that also seemed to lead to another proposal, which was called the in-app missions upgrade. So Blue Light, would you be happy to come to the stage and present your proposals for council and community discussion?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, great. So both the proposals we're kind of just thinking outside the box at a different angle, since we've been struggling with the current kind of structure of the staking rewards, etc. The first proposal to divert to exchange listings was really pretty bit of a crazy thought. Um, but I mean, thinking along the lines of it, it probably doesn't make sense because of the inter council funds and moving them to different councils and things. So, um, which kind of led me on to thinking again more outside the box about something that can sit within the town council, and be controlled by the council, and to also make something a little bit more enjoyable or a bit more fun for users, with the idea of the missions, which can be introduced. I know we can't directly put them in the app because that's Telcoin Holdings, and maybe one day they might want to do something like that. But in full control of the council, this kind of backup idea, or the second sort of idea was that you have a mission dashboard either on the association website or something, um, and between the council and everybody here, they can be thought of, mission style kind of cards can be put up there. So let's say users stake their tel. In return, they can go and do missions to claim some rewards, which kind of adds a little bit of gamification, exploration as well, to the app, and learning missions and different sort of things that make it kind of a bit more enjoyable to navigate around and learn different parts of how Telcoin operates. Who Classic had a good idea as well for a learning mission, which could stem from anything to do with the council, or how the network is set up, or how the council operates and the different segments. There could be so many different sort of mission cards that could be done, and those rewards could be claimed once a user had completed a certain mission. So really, it was just an idea to try and think outside the box and come at a different angle, to make it more enjoyable for everybody. Obviously, it needs a lot of thought. It could also go, it could be something that goes on a smaller scale, alongside some of the rewards could be used for this. You can still keep the current structure and fine tune it, keep working with Andrew's data until you kind of get to a fine line with it. But you could also introduce some sort of missions, just for they could be viral, they could go around, good marketing material, good for users to have a go at trying something different. So yeah, that's kind of it really. I mean, it needs a lot of thought on, the good thing is obviously the data's there of what a user's been doing. So claiming the missions could be all automated and things like that. So it obviously needs a bit of development, but I don't see it being too difficult. I'm already doing a similar type of thing on a different project. But yeah, that's kind of where we are with it.
Nice, lovely. Thanks for giving us the rundown, and I really appreciate your taking the time to put those together. And I like the outside the box thinking. I think that's really cool, and I like where you're coming from with the making it fun and getting people engaged. I think that's something we really need to focus on at the moment, and the data kind of shows that. So yeah, thank you for that. And I think, yeah, hopefully the kind of latest Tel IP has kind of assuaged your fears a bit around exchange listings. And yeah, you're right to point out that kind of separate councils and stuff. Um, but I think maybe missions could be a valuable kind of thing for us to look a bit more into, and even try and start specking out. Um, Personally, I think I have done the uh, like click this button or read this article and answer these questions and get like a couple of quid or something. I don't think it's kind of glued me to whatever product they were selling, but maybe it was just poorly implemented, and maybe we would be capable of kind of putting something useful and something that actually works out there. And I think in many ways these councils are very well positioned to actually have like productive kind of ideas there because we have this communication and we're, I'd say, pretty largely aligned with kind of the community and the actual users of the product. So I think it would be a great kind of foundation for further discussion and ideas around what the um, what these kind of challenges or missions might look like, and then also how to implement them, which um, could be kind of difficult, but interesting. So
I mean,
yeah,
you know,
that's kind of just my thinking. Yeah.
just like a couple of ideas. The simple ones, which would all be automated, would be like trading streaks. Trade 7 days in a row, do one trade a day for 7 days in a row, um, and claim X amount of TEL. That is super easy because
Yeah.
the transaction data is there already, and it just has to say, oh, this wallet's traded 7 days in a row. It's met the criteria. The claim button's available. They claim it, and then it gets sent into their wallet. You know, or
Yeah.
different things like that. You can keep them really easy at the beginning because obviously some more complicated ones would need more clever logic, but there's a lot of simple kind of easy ones that could be rolled out in the sort of phase one of it, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just years ago, this was on the Coinbase wallet platform, and I don't know if they still do this or not, but there was a similar gamification program that they were doing actually to educate you on different tokens that were being introduced on the platform or available for trade. Again, this was years ago, but so it was basically, walk through the process, click here, do this, to give you general information on the product itself, the token, and what it's doing, and its use case and what have you. And then through that, you would accumulate at the end some of that token, right? So it was just at the end of the day, we just kind of gamify it and click here, do this, and then the reward would happen at the end, which was really nice. And I also want to say, Blue Lights, bravo for thinking outside of the box. I think it's a great idea to try to put something together like this. Much what like Leo just mentioned, that there would be some development costs and whatnot, but I think that within the scope of what we're trying to do, and that's grow and bring more users to the platform. I think it's a great starting point and a great discussion topic.
Yeah, and I mean, there's loads of simple ones that could be done, like
Sure.
hold X amount of X amount of TEL for 2 weeks, for example, in your wallet. You know, as long as you don't drop below that threshold, you meet the criteria, and then the claim button automatically becomes available. So, yeah, there's a lot of them that could be complicated with the learning stuff, but simple ones like trade link every day for
Yep.
3 days or something like that. A lot of them could be very simple and automated to claim.
Yeah. No, sounds good. The probably yeah, the association will kind of have to host the page for all those claims and stuff, so it'll be a bit of front end work, but should be within the capabilities of the TAL to implement. Um, and yeah, as you say, the data is already on chain. The Telcoin holding smart contracts could be used for to keep track of all that stuff. So probably be another off-chain script kind of thing, like we have for TAN IP1. So should be feasible. Um, we can kind of rope in Marcus and Halil probably and think about scoping it out in a bit more depth. But that would be cool. It would be interesting to know as well if you can share anything about. You mentioned you were working on similar with other projects. You can share any more than that, but understand if not.
Yeah, most definitely. It's just a project, and a couple of guys in here are actually jumping on it. It's just a project I'm working on, like a Web3 community hub, just to educate people on crypto and wallets, lots of guides and different things. It's called Blue Chips with a three, BLU3 chips.com. personal project of mine. Only started it about a month ago, but in it we've got also different sort of things about Web3 to make it more fun. So we've added gamification. We've got the missions on there, which there's a mission page which has got the tiles that you can claim once you've done certain things. So and that's kind of what spurred me for Telcoin to have the idea as well, because I'd already just done it on my other project that I'm working on. So yeah, it's just and it's got a lot of Telcoin stuff on there. It was kind of started, because of Telcoin. So there's some guides on there and things like that. But yeah, it's just the overall trying to make Web3 more enjoyable for people, because as we know, a lot of it at the moment is very technical and puts a lot of people off. So I think if you're going for the mass adoption, especially with Telcoin and the Tel app, missions could be a good idea to make it more enjoyable and fun for people to do it. So that's kind of where the idea came from.
Lovely, nice. Thank you for sharing. So I guess this is a call to action for anyone listening out there. Go and check out Blue Chips and get involved. Start doing some missions and let us know which ones you like. Sound reasonable? Derek and Liberty, you've usually got more to say. What are your thoughts? I'd be interested to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've messed around with the Blue Chips website. It's fun because I think there's something to be said about one, competition in anything. That's the same reason people get addicted to mobile games and things like that, right? They don't have to be complicated. They just have to invoke something in that sense. And then two, adding some gamification into earning rewards is self-satisfying. So rather than I think it's a really unique idea, because rather than sitting there trying to trade back and forth, saying, oh, how much Tel, or how much can I trade back and forth between USDC and Tel, you're you're incentivizing people, and the great part is it's fluid, meaning the TAN council could decide, hey, we're gonna build this out, and this is this week's, which creates a level of people following, because they want to know, oh, what's next week's challenge, right? I want to try to earn for next week's challenge, and I think it's a unique concept of combining kind of Web3 and some more of the intricacies, with some more of gamification. I think it's definitely unique. Some challenges. Yeah, Ty said Dell dopamine tiles. There's definitely challenges when it comes to how it gets programmed and everything else, for sure. But I do think if it's managed properly, it could really uh, be a benefit. It could be something that's unique that you don't see a ton of. So especially wrapped in, hey, this is our rewards program.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like something that could work quite well, kind of running side by side with 10IP1 and that whole side of things. So yeah, lovely. And I think Andrew might have the numbers, but I mean, we should have kind of issuance that wasn't distributed from 10IP1. So maybe we can even kind of put those to work using this. We wouldn't have to have a tel IP to start off with. We can have a bit of a proof of concept trial run just with those 3,829,986 tel that were not distributed. So yeah, it could be a neat little project. And yeah, so Blue Lights has shared the mission page for Blue Chips. So go and check that out and let us know what you think. It'd be great to hear some more community feedback. Boo, is it something you'd rate? Are you around? Maybe not. Does anyone from the community? Sorry, Boo. Hope you get better or fix your mic, either one. Does anyone from the community or any other council members have any opinions, questions, thoughts? We'd love to hear them.
One last thing I wanted to say also. I know a lot of this conversation stemmed from what's going on with the current program. It doesn't make sense, things of that nature. I think we're seeing some kind of shifts in the way that things are working. To your points earlier and to Andrew's, and I think I think also to Blue Light's point, scrapping something completely doesn't make necessarily 100% sense. There's a lot of things that are going to change what this looks like over the next month, 2 months, whatever that is, and I think we just have to be careful about not making too many changes too quickly until we know what this is going to be on a more standardized basis moving forward. So I just want to put that out there.
No,
Again, my opinion. So I'm not saying that it shouldn't be adjusted or that do something alongside of it like what Blue Lights is saying, because I think it's a really great idea. But it's just we have to be careful about moving too quickly.
Yeah, even 180 degrees from that, BZ is, I'm currently working on a proposal to see if we could actually cut off a piece of marketing specifically for 10IP and stake and refer, right? And whether we budget it through our council or if we do a tell IP or whatnot. Yeah, I mean, and it could be a proof of concept, right? But if say we could generate a scope that would be some advertising on socials, add some educational content with maybe videos, some landing pages that would explain what the programs are, stuff like that. I know marketing. I brought up marketing in a meeting prior last week, and I think maybe even what Blue Lights is proposing here could be wrapped up into that, right? As part of the gamification and mission marketing aspects. So, I'm trying to get that done, and I just been having quite a busy time in my 9 to 5, but I think it makes sense. And if I'll put it forward, and if we could come to an agreement that having a separate marketing plan just for those programs, if that's viable, I think would be a great help. I noticed in the previous meeting the wallet counts, dropping. I mean, we did have a little more activity this way, but as Leo said earlier, I think that might just be to the market activity, or and as a whole, and the increased you know just what they want to find and learn about tell, and they realize these rewards are available. So I think we'll have some organic growth, but I don't know if that would be enough long term. I think the program could be much bigger and much more rewarding. So if I can get the proposal put in place and have the rest of the council members kind of review it and see if that's viable, right? I think that'd be a huge help to push this program forward.
Yeah, I love the idea. Ty has his hand up. The other thing I'll say too is probably our first thing we need to do is figure out a different name for the program. I know
Sure.
we've talked about that a few times, so something a little bit more organic, maybe.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ty.
Hi, folks. Yeah, I noticed this week from the issuance spreadsheet there was like a change in the profiles. That there seemed to be that big wallet that was connected to, was it 4 or 5 other wallets that had a lot of rewards as referrers or stakers, I can't remember which. But I just wondered if the council had any further analysis on that particular block, because that seemed to be a break away from the traditional 2 wallets linked that were wash trading. And I haven't done any further analysis on that wallet myself. I just wondered if anybody else had any comments on that particular structure. Could it be, I don't know, an MNO maybe coming with 4 big players or whatever accounted for that block of transactions that was highlighted on the the Kusumi's spreadsheet analysis. So that's my question.
I don't know is my answer. I need to look at Nokusim's numbers in a bit more detail, but I mean, it could well be that someone on their network had kind of a spurt of activity last week and they didn't show up this week, kind of thing. Could be many things, and the blockchain kind of obfuscates stuff a little bit. Can you run us through what you're seeing, just based on this image right now on the screen?
Sure, it's that block at the bottom that's highlighted in blue.
Okay, yeah.
Which accounted for the majority of rewards this week.
Okay.
And I just wondered if anybody had done any analysis on that particular structure there, right at the bottom. Yeah, so there's five wallets that looked. I can't remember what the last column was, but you can see it looks like 4 wallets are feeding one in terms of the referrer fees.
Nice. Well, like, just kind of at face value, that's great to see, because that is what we hope for, right? That's that kind of one-to-many relationship. So one staker has got a lot of referees there, and they're basically beating the kind of quote-unquote wash traders at their own game and winning that kind of pro rata share of issuance.
I haven't dug that far into it, Ty, but what I looked at was that this kind of structure, I guess I would say, in the blue, is to Leo's point, is that's really what we want to see, right? We want to see people growing their network and everybody doing that. Now, how old these wallets are or anything, I don't know. Like, I would need to look into that just to make an assumption. But realistically,
that's a lot of trades going through 4 wallets.
Yeah, realistically, is this somebody that's kind of trying to rethink the way that they were doing wash trading? It really doesn't matter, right? Because at the end of the day, your net all in is all going to be the same, because it doesn't matter if you have one. There's no multiplier for the amount of referees that you have, right? So the net will still remain the same with that. I mean, and again, this is also showing staker fees. Okay, so the state, so he didn't really do any trades himself. So I don't know. I would personally, I would probably want to look into it a little bit more. I don't know if Andrew has seen that yet or anything else, but we'd want to look into it for sure.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of perfect. Yeah. Go on.
No, I was just saying it was interesting that there was a kind of shift away from what we had seen in the past with the paired wallets. This is maybe a much more sophisticated structure where one wallet has a family of wallets, doing a bit of trading or whatever, and whether or not it's actually running at a profit or a loss based on Andrew's analysis that he showed with the negative blocks down the right-hand side of his analysis. So I was just pointing out that there was a shift this week that I'd noticed from previous weeks.
Yeah. No, that's great, and thank you for pointing it out. I think it's really positive because, with Telcoin KYC, each of those wallets is an actual person. It's not getting kind of gained from one person who's in control of 5 wallets. And I think that's exactly what we want to see, right? It's that person who's obviously given their referral code to active traders, and it's a kind of, in my mind, perfect indication of everything working as it should, and seems to be kind of disincentivizing the pairs of individual traders, which we saw dominating the last few weeks up to this. So, kind of hoping it's shift in the tide, and that kind of picks up a bit as people see that that's a valuable valuable approach, and can earn you some good returns from spreading the word and your referral code. Nice. So does anyone else have anything to add or ask or anything like that? It sounds like for the next 2 weeks, it would be good to kind of explore a bit more kind of async on the forums, what kind of missions we can go for, how we might actually build them. And I'll try and get Marcus and maybe Halil on for the next meeting, so we can have a bit more of an in-depth discussion and bounce those ideas around a bit more. I think to Steve's point about marketing, I think we're in a great spot now, and especially with those numbers that Ty just brought up, it's pretty encouraging. So I think that we do have real potential for people to get involved with 10IP1 after we rename it. So maybe we should have a bit of async discussion about what we'd like to rename it to. But I think some marketing around it, because we haven't really put out much information about it at all. From what I've seen from them, I'm sure would be very happy to help. It might not even require a separate kind of tel IP for specified marketing here. So we can explore those options, and yeah, I think if we kind of focus a bit more on getting the word out and get a few threads going on X with actual clear information about how to get involved and how to use this, I think there's a good chance we could see big growth in the number of users with very little extra kind of financial input. So I think those would be great things for us to kind of push forward on as a mostly as a council, but also as a community. Each kind of reshare, retweet on X does actually go a long way, and I think it'd be really great to see just that in isolation to start with, what kind of effect it can have on the 10IP1 numbers. So yeah, I'll kind of look into that a bit and see what our options are, and maybe we can kind of avoid having to go the full tel IP route. That's always an option later on if we need to, but it seems like we might have the opportunity to kind of shortcut that and use Storm to the best of our abilities. So
Yeah, Leo, to that point, I mean, even Storm was mentioning, if they have a collective of assets for the community to use, and maybe this is part of that, right? That collective that we can just have, great graphics, and some people don't feel comfortable sharing their codes because it feels a little you know I don't know, scammy, I guess is what they think. But if it's a nice graphic and they can build that in and explain what they're doing with these referrals and why they're asking for them or whatever the case is, I think it would be a big help for the community to help want to engage and get their own referral codes out there.
absolutely, yeah, fully agree. I think Storm are well versed in this stuff. They'd definitely be able to give us some pointers at the very least. So um, should all be doable, and looking forward to it. Nice. So if no one has anything else they'd like to add, I think we can call it a day there. Thanks again, Blue Lights, for stepping up and leading us with that discussion. And thanks, Ty, for pointing out those values at the end. That was awesome.
deal. Thank you, everybody. There's no other questions in the chat either, so we're good to go.
We can see the price impact, the minimum amount received. We set our parameters for the swap, and now we're ready to sign. For the demo on desktop, we're using MetaMask. It's an open source EVM wallet. Telcoin Network is fully compatible with all the EVM products on the market. And once we've signed our transaction, it's now with the network. The nodes are reaching consensus, they're validating it, they're exchanging that information to make sure it's a legitimate transaction. And once that's reached on testnet, about 5 seconds, we should be able to see the information in the block explorer. So here we can see our status was successful. The block that the transaction was included in, 100,593. And we signed our transaction just 22 seconds ago. The power of Telcoin Network with the instant finality, every time a block is produced, the settlement is cleared, that transaction is permanent. And for very low transaction fees and very fast block times. Here you can have a look at our block explorer where we see blocks being produced in real time. This has a lot of information for us, including the token price, the latest block number, and the most recent transactions on the network. And there you have it. It's as easy as that. Users can swap stable tokens now on our Telcoin wallet found on iOS and Android.
We look at ourselves as the bridge between the traditional financial and the crypto world. So that's why we want to be the bank and issue stablecoin bank accounts directly out of your stablecoin. We all know about the breadth and scale of NWC, 100,000 attendees globally with phenomenal success. But I think it's the content and the engagement, the energy, which is vibrant, ebullious. But I think it's a melting pot of corporates, telecom, startups, especially this 4 years from now, where you have investors, startups, corporate, cutting-edge technology providers all under the same roof. That's phenomenal. We love it here.
We're wrapping up shop here at MWC 2025. It's been a super productive conference. We networked with a ton of mobile network operators, and the booth generated a ton of interest. So that's it for now. We'll see you at the next conference.
Thank you.